Before we begin, I'd like to go back to the day. This is what's known as a trolley. A simple recipe really. 3 pieces of wood, 1 long and wide, 2 short and not so wide, a couple of axles and 4 wheels. And maybe an old beer crate for the seat. The front axle was attached by a bolt which enabled it to twist backwards and forwards so you could steer it. To steer it, well, that was easy, just a piece of rope each side of the axle. Then you got your mate or your brother or sister to push the trolley around the street. And if you lived near a hill, all the better. So then we made something a bit bigger so we could all pile more kids on and have more fun. The old trolley. Yeah, excellent. With me is Neville, and Neville, you've got an outstanding electric car. And I've seen photographs of what cars in 1904, 1902, and that was the era of when vehicles started. A lot of them started being electric, and then some of them had motors, and then some of them ran on steam. And so they were jostling about with the power propulsions on what an automobile should run on. But electric had its start. It went right through to about 1920. I just remember the Walker truck, and there was a photograph that somebody showed me with about 9 or 10 of them all lined up outside the Waitoa dairy factory. And so when you say electric vehicles and people say, oh yeah, that's new.
Yeah, no, it's not new.
No, it's not new. Nothing new in vehicles. So just tell me about, I mean, first of all, it didn't come to New Zealand. You would have had to have got it from somewhere.
Yes, I had acquired it in the States, in California, and brought it into New Zealand. I've worked in the electrical industry nearly my whole career, and and been interested in veteran vehicles, and I decided I want to own an electric veteran vehicle. And it's totally unique. It's fully registered, warranted.
Really?
Yes. And
so when you take this for a ride, the guy must have scratched his bloody head.
Well, he looks up his insurance policy, and because he won't drive it. I've got to do the driving and I've got to do the brake testing and everything. Wow. And he'll jack it up and he'll give it a very thorough inspection, but he won't drive it. His public liability policy probably doesn't cover the vehicle of this value.
No.
So it's a lot of fun. It's tiller steered, and the make it go lever sits here, and it's got a bell for a horn. And we can motor for about 2 hours, but I get range anxiety after an hour, and I mean real range anxiety.
So how fast does it go? I mean, back in that time, they didn't go very fast at all.
No, it goes slightly faster than a cyclist. I can motor up beside a cyclist, and after they've recovered from the shock of a vehicle appearing beside them, we can usually have a little bit of a chatter, and then I just pull away very slowly, not very fast at all, faster than the cyclist.
So how often would you get this out?
My wife and I take it out at the weekends. We go down to the mall to have coffee or lunch, and we park it in the car park. We've parked it in the supermarket car park here at Wanaka, and we come out and we know where we parked it because there's a heap of people sitting around it looking at it.
Wow.
Astounded that electric vehicles existed back in the early 1900s.
Tell me about your lights here. Are they electric or are they
They're
carbide?
electric lights.
Yeah.
They've got a very large filament bulb in them. I have attended a lot of international swap meets, and I've never seen another light similar. No, they're absolutely unique. These vehicles back in the day cost 4 times what a Model T Ford cost. They were the car of choice of the ladies of the White House, obviously because they could just hop in them and drive them, whereas a petrol vehicle they would have to crank, and obviously those ladies, like ladies of today, don't like cranking old cars.
No.
So, it is quite different.
Absolutely. Is that leather into the...
Everything is leather. The mud guards, for want of a better word, are all leather. You're sitting on horsehair, leather covered.
Yeah. So if I went to jail, that's the mattress I would be sleeping on.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Horsehair.
So, you know, they are totally unique.
Tell me about all this volty amps. I mean, that's obviously your dashboard.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's not speedometer. It's 50 volts, so that's the equivalent of 4 car batteries.
Yep.
And I'm not drawing any current at the moment, but when we tootle off down here, coming up this slight slope here, it'll be up to about 100 amps of electricity current being drawn.
Wow.
So,
and the little lever that comes over here, is that a light?
that's a light, yes.
Yeah, it lights it up.
I can actually drive this at night.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's registered in a special category that allows me to drive, I think from memory, up to 30 kilometres an hour at night. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't do it. I'd be too scared.
Yeah.
But the category was there and I thought, to hell with it, I'm applying for this category, and that's what I did.
Wow. Now, you're travelling along and you've got all this windage through here. There's no windscreen, but I just see you've got a lovely little glass.
You can see what's coming behind.
Yes.
And you know, I'm a bit like you, the wind's blown our hair away, isn't it?
And you haven't got any rear vision mirrors, so you've got to actually physically look around the seat.
Yes, you've got to look. It's a little uncanny, you know, it is left-hand drive.
Well, I suppose it is. I didn't really think about that, did you?
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
So you're moving the tiller arm forward and back.
So going to the right,
Yeah.
that tiller arm's coming into your tummy a wee bit.
Yes, and I'm built like you.
Yeah, so you need a football paddock to turn around right.
Yes, a little
but
bit.
left, no problem.
No, left's no problem, but I can raise this up and of course get it back in against my chest, and that allows me to make a slightly sharper right-hand turn.
Oh, I think this is absolutely marvellous. I mean, sort of, you know, you read all the articles about electric cars in the early century, or last century, or the century before. No, last century.
Last century. We joke about this.
Yeah. And just to absolutely sit in one, and you say we can go for a drive.
I'm going to take you for a drive.
Oh, I think that's wonteiful.
So not too far though, but I will
just
take
sort
you
of-
for a drive.
Yeah. Marvellous.
And if you made an appointment with me, I'd let you drive it. I'd teach you how to drive it.
Oh, well, we can do that in due
Just
course.
got to remember that the ladies of the White House could drive them, so you should be able to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got a pretty good machinery aptability. I can sort of figure
that's a
it all
big
out. Bigger for me.
Yeah.
Might be a bigger truck than that.
Is it a truck?
No, it's not a truck.
It's got a tray.
As you can see, a lot of people come and have a look at this unique vehicle.
Sure. And that's the killer there. It's 2 over. You've got a Tin Lizzie.
Yeah, that's right. A Model T Ford.
Yeah, it's
Actually, the killer was they took the electric motor out of these and made them into an electric starter motor.
Oh, is that what they did?
So
Okay.
that's what killed the original electric vehicles, was the electric starter motor. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
But you know, the old Model T come, you just sort of crank it or do something with it, and then the starter motor came and away it went.
But remember, the Model Ts were cheap.
Yeah. Like you were saying, this is a fortune, and that's just $500.
Yeah, a bit that way.
Yeah. And everybody and his dog probably had $500, or they put it on tick or whatever they did.
A lot of people ask me what it's worth, and I say I can't tell you,
no, you
because
can't.
my wife doesn't even know.
No, you can't put a price. You
No.
know, it's priceless.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth what somebody wants to pay for.
Oh,
basically.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the blokes next door on this trade stand for expensive Range Rovers said to me, would you swap the Range Rover for this? And I said, no.
No, absolutely not. I know. What do they even do? This is an ad, is it?
Yeah, that's a trade area.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
They're sponsoring, I think, all the old Land Rovers that are going to appear here later
yeah,
today.
shitloads. We pass a lot of them on the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a great place, isn't it,
it
here?
certainly is. Oh well, we're going to set ourselves up, folks, and we're going to go for a bit of a ride in this wonderful old classic. Beautiful.
The current. Oh, we're not at the moment. It's a good grip. How's that? Look at the current now. Can I have one of those posts in front of the wheels, please? No, you'll do it.
What I've got here is a copy of Talking Trucks. This is a book I wrote a couple of years ago, and it's the history of New Zealand trucking. And it's all from the programs that I did between 2013 and 2016. I'm going to let this go for $25. So it's a special. So if you'd like your copy, there's my phone number, 027 277 0717. Just send me a text or email me, billhoheper@extra.co.nz to get your copy. $25 and the history of New Zealand trucks. Well, here's something you don't see every day. It says Morris Commercial, and it's probably a 2-ton, maybe 3-ton truck. But then you compare it with this monster next door, and this probably would have done the same work as that does back in its time. But in that cab there's actually plenty of room. And a lot of the trucks, you're sort of jammed up, your knees are up around your ears, but there's actually plenty of room in this cab. Nice long radiator, and yeah, so it's just the oddest looking thing with this little short bonnet, and I haven't actually seen one like this before, although Paul Gleason's got a Morris Commercial in his shed about the same vintage. Steering box comes out the side of there it is. But whoever did this have done a marvellous job. Let's have a look in this cab. Here it is, beautifully restored. Quite an elaborate dashboard for the time, and this apparently was one of the army trucks in World War II. I'll just climb up into this cab. Looks like it's got a 4-speed gearbox, handbrake. I'll just jump in and see how it feels. But like I was saying, now I'm sitting in this truck, I can get my feet on the pedals, but the only thing wrong is my vision's sort of there, so in order to see where I'm going I've actually got to bend forward to see where I'm going. However, back in the time there were smaller people than me, and they would have been able to drive. This is actually 6 cylinders, which is quite big for a truck of this size, and little lever here so I can open up this window for a bit of fresh air and what have you. So there you are, the old Morris Commercial. What we've got here is another R190, and J Swap had their share of internationals, and they restored this one. This one was restored in Matamata, and we were there the day they started on it, probably about 6 years ago, and this is the end result. Absolutely stunning. And most of them had twin sticks, and this one's no different, twin sticks. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4 gears and one and 3 in the other. And some say you had to put your arm through the steering wheel to get them both together, but I spoke to a man who said no, that wasn't necessary, you're just showing off if you did that. But the old twin sticks and an R190, that was just common. But as people have restored them, they put automatics in them, they put different gearboxes, different engines and what have you. But in there is a 671 Detroit, and it screams its head off. And somebody said to me once, The only way to drive this is to put your fingers in the door, slam the door and hate it for the rest of the day. So there you go. Let's have a look in the cab. So there we've got twin sticks. That's the main one, that's the auxiliary. Very simple dashboard, something to hang on to. And these were the trucks of the 1950s and 60s. Scream their heads off, beautiful. This beautifully restored R190 belongs to Bob Ellis, and you might remember it. We did a story about it going into the bush. We put a load of logs on it and then we took it out of the bush and on the way over the hill to Mount Maunganui, unloaded it, and that was a whole show and everybody seemed to enjoy it. But the thing I do remember about this is going up the Kaimais, and I asked him how many gears he had left. He said 2. And the Kenworths and the Macs and the Volvos and the Scanias were all going past him like he was standing still. But back in the day, they all went up there at about anything from 10 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour, depending on the load. But it was just good to have a day on an R190. And good on you, Bob. Much appreciated. This is a DCF International. A very popular truck in its time, and this one belongs to used to belong to Bob Woolston, and Bob sold it to the people at Timaru, and it's going into the Timaru Museum, and that'll be its home. So if you want to come and have a look at this thing, that's where you go. Old Caesar Roos had a fleet of these things, and maybe a bit earlier, but they towed bottom dumpers and they towed logs. Bob did logs with his one, and it's just a beast of a truck for 1969. In 1969, this is competing with the Macs and the Kenworths and all those other powerful trucks that were brought into the country at the time. But this, I'm sure, sort of did its best to keep up with them. Just noted on the front here, it's got the louvers. And if the engine needs a cool, they open up, and if it needs to be warmed up a bit, they close. So they pretty much do that automatically. But Bob Wilson restored this truck. I was there when it arrived. I was there when he pulled the engine out of it and turned it into this. So he made it for himself, and so it's easy to drive. It's got an automatic transmission, and it's something you can just get in and enjoy and take it anywhere. So as I said, it's living in the Timaru Truck Museum, and if you're down that way, it'd be worth popping in and having a look at it. This is a Ford jail bar Arctic, and last night at the event it got a prize, and good on it. But just one thing I remember, a man called Josh, who was about 92, he had an Austin truck, and when he decided he's going to get into trucking, he asked a few questions, and what everybody said to him was, get an Arctic, get more on it, more economical, more manoeuvrable, and so that's what he did. And I just see this as an Arctic, and it's quite a big truck for its time. I'm sure as a car that it's loaded, it says on there it worked around the Ward area, and Ward is close to Blenheim, but great truck. Well, what we've got here is an Austin, and Austin, of course, British, and I think this might be an A40, which means it's 40 horsepower. It's got the flying A on the front there, Austin of England, a little logo on the side, and they were quite a snazzy little vehicle for their time. And this one, of course, is a utility, and I guess the contractors and other people of the time would have used these to sort of zip around and get the oil and the chainsaw parts and all the rest of it. So this one's absolutely quite stunning. And if I open up the door, see how the door just slopes in with the mud guard there, and if I look into this cab, I think they may be 3-speed 1, 2, 3 with a verse and over. It's got a pretty good looking dashboard, and yeah, this little thing here is a little indicator that flipped out and had a little light in it, little V shape, had a little light in it, and when you turn the indicator switch off, it just slotted back into this little slot. I just remember some of the trucks previous to this had an arm, a little mechanical arm that sat on the side, a little hand, and when you put the hand out, you wanted to stop, it pulled up like that, and when you wanted to go to the right, it pulled like that, and if you're going left, you had your hand up and sort of shook it a bit. But this is the next stage, little flapped out, whoop, away you go, beautiful. My old mate, the goose rooter from Geraldine, well, they had some tractor pulling down there and truck pulling and various other machines pulling this, pulling machine along, and on the top you can see a thing that's measuring how far it's gone, and the old goose rooter stuffed it up a wee bit there, something happened, and so they've got to just slightly fix it. The man says, no, hang on a minute, I'll just check at it and we'll start again. So what they're going to do is restart the meter reader, and goose rooter will put his foot down and give it another go. So there you go, 1 metre, 2 metres, 3, 4, 5, bit of smoke coming out of the old Nissan as goose rooter races along in trying to pull that machine as far as he possibly can. When he's up to 20, 35, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, he's just starting to slow down now. 48, 49, 50, and it's 100 metres all up. But he's getting it there, 57.94 metres. Good on you, goose rooter. Like the saying says, if it's got wheels, it'll be represented at Wheels at Wanaka. Well, this has got wheels, albeit sort of spoked and steel rims and what have you, but this is an old grader, and we've spoken about old graders before. It's got a little thing here that you can adjust the blade, hand it up there, sort of puts a bit of tilt on it. Not quite sure what this one does, but very simple. So you've probably got two guys. You've got a man up here riding the horses, and another man standing on the back here doing the handle. So a two-man grader. Oh, and there's even a little foot lever here, and I'm not quite sure what that does. Oh yeah, it locks the blade in. There you go. Little chains everywhere. But there it is, the old horse-drawn grader. What I've got here is a copy of Talking Trucks. This is a book I wrote a couple of years ago, and it's the history of New Zealand trucking. And it's all from the programs that I did between 2013 and 2016. I'm going to let this go for $25. So it's a special. So if you'd like your copy, there's my phone number, 027 277 0717. Just send me a text, or email me, billhohepper@extra.co.nz to get your copy. $25 and the history of New Zealand trucks. And just finally, we're going to go to Roger Mahan's new Heritage collection, which is in Geraldine. And I'll have a quick talk to Roger about his dragline. When did the dragline first appear? Have you any idea?
Oh, very early on, in the 1860s or 70s.
Really?
Oh yes, they were very early out in the piece.
Oh, wow.
They've always been the first out in the field as far as a lot of jobs too. You know, we're in restricted places, or we've got to pull out of water, or we want reach, or you've got to bring that machine with the long boom in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a while ago, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can do so many things with them. This is only one of about 10 attachments you can put on them. Also got another one with a face shovel on. The face shovel lifts up, puts the teeth in, and then swings around and that drops it onto the truck. I dare say you've seen them around.
Yeah,
but the back hose, pull hose, if you're laying pipes, put the pull hoe on, and you put it out and digs towards the machine, and very effective. There's nothing got more power than rope. Hydraulics can't look at it. If you in rock or hard going, the old rope machine,
Really?
it takes over. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. This one here, we did about 15 years work on the one run there on the irrigation race between Methven and Rangitata. we put cleaning out the sand which is in the bottom of the race, and that's what that piece is welded to make a straight cutting edge there.
Yep.
And also too, we put a little a bit of a rag through the rope, so we knew how deep to go.
Wow.
But
So you have to, with that,
Yep.
you have to sort of swing and then let it go.
let the machine do it. You can't fight it. The machine's in charge, and you just tell it what to do.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, we're watching Sid Hogg,
Yes.
and he's got a machine
That's
that
right.
still works, but he would cast that across the other side of the,
that's right.
drop it in,
Yeah.
and then drag it back. But if you had a, like a modern day digger doing that,
Yes.
if he puts it out, it can only go so far,
That's
so it's
right.
actually missing a
That's
bit.
right.
Yeah.
Of course, can't go to the depth.
No.
Or they can't reach. And these machines, like many of the earlier machines, they never had things on that told you where you're doing, what to do, and all the rest. Drove us from the seat of your bloody pants spill.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
And things you learnt, you never forgot.
No,
And I was so lucky I was brought up in the old school with some of the old boys who had been driving them 50, 60 years before, off the old steamers, and they'd up their head harder and whatnot. And if you were keen and respected them, they would show you all the tips.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked for a few years bit more, the first thing it did to me was put me on one of these and face shovel. Well, I just because one of the old overseers there knew that I could operate them. I tell you, first opportunity I got, I'd had enough of driving them, and I finished up getting into the fitting shop, which suited me well.
Sure, yeah. We'll have a look in that cabin.
Yeah. This outside one with the lever on it is your master clutch.
Yep.
And if you want to stop anything in a hurry, just pull the master clutch back.
Yep,
The next one is the trip for the bucket.
yep.
Next one further over is not used on this application, it's for on a face shovel, but for dropping the end of the bucket out to empty it.
Yes.
And the other one is hoist.
Yep.
And that one's a drag. And then you got the slew over here.
The third one in.
Third one in is the slew.
Yep. And the last one?
It's only used for lowering the boom up and down.
Oh, okay, this little job.
Oh, that's the locks to hold the pedal down on the floor.
Oh, okay. And there's another one there, and there's
right.
another one there.
We only got two sets of pedals. One is for the hoist for holding the bucket up,
Yep.
and the other is for stop the rope coming in or going out.
Wow. And is that seat comfortable, Roger? You spend
Yes,
the whole
it's a good comfy seat.
Yeah.
Yes, you made sure they were comfy, because if you had something which didn't fit your backside, well, you soon had it altered.
Yeah.